Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, November 8th, 2024, and you're listening to Alex's News. The high in Riverside today will reach 74 degrees, with a low of 50.6, so it's a great day to enjoy some outdoor activities. In today's news, we'll explore the potential impact of Putin's comments about Trump on the relationship between the United States and Russia. We'll also delve into the role of Santa Ana winds in exacerbating California's wildfire situation. Finally, we'll discuss the significance of a recent pygmy hippo birth for conservation efforts. Stay tuned for these stories and more on Alex's News. We begin with breaking news from Russia. President Vladimir Putin has publicly congratulated Donald Trump on his victory in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. For more on this, we turn to our international correspondent, Ethan. Ethan, what can you tell us about Putin's remarks?
Thank you, Grace. According to reporting from the Associated Press, Putin made these congratulatory comments during a question-and-answer session at the Valdai Discussion Club, an international forum held in Sochi, Russia. This marks Putin's first public statement on the U.S. election results.
What exactly did Putin say about Trump?
Well, Grace, Putin had some interesting things to say. He praised Trump's courage during the assassination attempt in July, calling him a brave man who behaved correctly under the circumstances. Putin also noted that Trump's statements about restoring relations with Russia and helping to end the Ukrainian crisis were, in his words, worthy of attention.
That's quite significant. Did Putin give any indication of what he expects from a second Trump administration?
Interestingly, Putin expressed uncertainty about what to expect. He said, and I quote, "I don't know what will happen now. I have no idea." He acknowledged that this would be Trump's last presidential term and that Trump's actions would be his own matter.
How has the Kremlin responded to Trump's claims about ending the conflict in Ukraine?
According to PBS NewsHour, the Kremlin has welcomed Trump's claim that he could negotiate an end to the conflict in Ukraine quickly. However, they've emphasized that they're waiting for concrete policy steps. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov indicated that contact between Putin and Trump before the inauguration is possible, given Trump's intention to call Putin before taking office.
That's interesting. How would you characterize the current state of U.S. Russia relations?
Well, Grace, despite these seemingly positive remarks, it's important to note that the relationship remains strained. Peskov stressed that Moscow views the U.S. as an unfriendly country deeply involved in the Ukrainian conflict. He described U.S. Russia relations as being at their lowest point in history and stated that it would be up to the new U.S. leadership to improve the situation.
Given Trump's apparent admiration for Putin, how did his first term impact U.S. Russia relations?
That's a great question, Grace. Despite Trump's personal stance, his first administration actually maintained a complex and often adversarial relationship with Russia. ABC News has reported on several significant actions taken during Trump's first term, including maintaining and expanding sanctions related to Russia's annexation of Crimea, imposing sanctions on Russian oligarchs and state-owned companies, and implementing sanctions for chemical weapons use, particularly in response to the Salisbury nerve agent attack.
So what can we expect moving forward?
It's hard to say definitively, Grace. While Putin's congratulatory remarks and the potential for early diplomatic engagement could signal a shift in U.S.-Russia relations, it remains to be seen how this will play out in concrete policy terms. Experts will be closely watching how the new Trump administration balances its stated desire to improve relations with Russia against the ongoing geopolitical challenges and the legacy of sanctions from the previous term.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive report on this developing story. We'll be sure to keep our viewers updated as we learn more. We turn now to our top story this morning. A devastating wildfire known as the mountain fire has been raging in Southern California since Wednesday. For more on this, we're joined by our reporter Chloe. Chloe, can you give us an update on the current situation?
Certainly, Grace. The mountain fire, which started on Wednesday morning in Ventura County, has been spreading rapidly due to strong Santa Ana winds. These are northeasterly winds that blow from the Santa Ana Mountains southeast of Los Angeles. According to the National Weather Service, wind gusts have frequently reached 50 to 80 miles per hour, with isolated gusts up to 100 miles per hour in areas like the San Gabriel Mountains.
That's incredibly strong. How has this affected the fire's growth and containment?
The impact has been severe, Grace. As of now, the fire has grown to approximately 32 square miles and is only 5% contained. The Los Angeles Times reports that in less than 2 days, it has destroyed 132 structures, mostly homes, and damaged another 88 structures. The combination of strong winds, extremely low humidity, and dry vegetation has created perfect conditions for rapid fire spread.
That's devastating. What about the human impact of this fire?
The human toll has been significant. 10 people have been injured, mainly due to smoke inhalation and other non-life-threatening injuries. Approximately 10,000 people are under evacuation orders as the fire threatens about 3,500 structures in suburban neighborhoods, ranches, and agricultural areas near Camarillo and Santa Paula. NBC News spoke with Kelly Barton, whose parents lost their retirement home of 20 years to the fire, highlighting the personal tragedies unfolding.
It's heartbreaking to hear about these losses. How are firefighters responding to this emergency?
Firefighting efforts are ongoing, Grace. Fire crews, aided by water-dropping helicopters, are focusing on protecting homes on hillsides near the city of Santa Paula. The National Weather Service has issued a rare, particularly dangerous situation: fire weather warning for parts of Los Angeles and Ventura counties. Additionally, their Storm Prediction Center has issued its highest tier of fire risk, labeled extremely critical, for areas including Santa Clarita, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Camarillo, and Moorpark.
That sounds like an extremely dangerous situation. How are local authorities responding?
California Governor Gavin Newsom has proclaimed a state of emergency in Ventura County. Over a dozen school districts and campuses in Ventura County were closed, with some expected to remain closed on Friday. Utilities, including Southern California Edison, have shut off power to nearly 70,000 customers in 5 counties to mitigate the risk of electrical lines sparking new fires.
This isn't the first time this area has faced such devastating fires, is it?
You're right, Grace. This region has a history of destructive wildfires. The area affected by the mountain fire has seen other major fires in recent years, including the 2018 Woolsey Fire and the 2017 Thomas Fire. This history has led to increased fire prevention and mitigation strategies in Ventura County, including emphasis on defensible space, public education, fire-resistant construction and landscaping, controlled burns, and stricter regulations for development in high fire hazard areas.
It's good to hear that preventative measures are being taken. Are there any long-term impacts we should be aware of?
Absolutely, Grace. The long-term environmental and economic impacts of recurring wildfires in Southern California are significant. These include habitat loss, soil degradation, air quality deterioration, substantial economic losses, and challenges to achieving climate goals. It's worth noting that while natural causes like lightning strikes account for about 10 to 15% of wildfires in California, the vast majority, 85 to 90%, are caused by human-related factors such as power lines, campfires, and other forms of negligence or human error.
That's crucial information, Chloe. Is there anything residents should be aware of in the coming days?
Yes, Grace. Residents are warned to remain vigilant for fast-spreading blazes, power outages, and downed trees due to the Santa Ana winds. According to the National Weather Service, these winds are expected to return early to midweek next week, which is in 4 to 6 days from today.
Thank you, Chloe, for this comprehensive update on the mountain fire situation. We'll continue to follow this story as it develops.
You're welcome, Grace. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
Thank you, Chloe. Now let's move on to our next story. Here are some other headlines. A widespread incident of racist text messages referencing slavery has prompted investigations across multiple states. The FBI, local law enforcement, and the FCC are looking into the messages sent to Black individuals, including students. Schools and universities in several states have been affected, with counseling being offered to recipients. Republicans have made significant gains in state legislatures across the country following the 2024 elections. While Democrats secured some victories, Republicans strengthened their control in many states, potentially influencing policy on issues like education and healthcare. Violence erupted in Amsterdam following a Europa League soccer match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ajax. At least 5 people were hospitalized and 57 arrested after attacks on supporters of the Israeli team. Both Dutch and Israeli officials have condemned the incidents as anti-Semitic. Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Ormondolban, has predicted that if Donald Trump returns to the White House, U.S. support for Ukraine will likely end. This statement comes as EU leaders gather for a summit, highlighting potential shifts in U.S. foreign policy and its impact on global alliances. Donald Trump has secured a return to the presidency, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris in the election. His victory was attributed to shifts in key demographic groups and widespread national dissatisfaction. Trump's campaign promises included mass deportations and significant tariffs on foreign imports, setting the stage for potential policy changes. We have some exciting news from the animal kingdom today. Our reporter Ethan is here with details about a new addition to an endangered species. Ethan, what can you tell us?
That's right, Grace. Multiple public radio stations, including WBAA and Delmarva Public Media, have reported the birth of a new pygmy hippopotamus named Honey. This news comes as part of a regular animal news feature that includes a quiz component.
A pygmy hippopotamus? That sounds adorable. Can you tell us more about these animals and why this birth is significant?
Certainly, Grace. Pygmy hippopotamuses are classified as an endangered species, with fewer than 3,000 individuals remaining in the wild. They're native to the forests and swamps of West Africa, primarily found in Liberia, with smaller populations in Sierra Leone, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast.
That's not a lot of pygmy hippos left. So I imagine this birth is quite important for conservation efforts?
Absolutely. The birth of a single pygmy hippo in captivity is significant for several reasons. It contributes to genetic diversity, which is crucial for the long-term survival of the species. It also helps increase the overall population of this endangered species and provides opportunities for scientific research and public education.
That's fascinating. Are there many breeding programs for pygmy hippos in zoos?
Yes, there are. Breeding programs in zoos play a crucial role in the conservation of pygmy hippos. Some notable successful programs include those at the Gulf Breeze Zoo in Florida, Houston Zoo, Montgomery Zoo in Alabama, and Khao Open Zoo in Thailand. These programs contribute to maintaining genetic diversity, increasing population numbers, and raising public awareness about the species.
It's great to hear that zoos are doing such important work. Do we know where Honey was born or who her parents are?
Unfortunately, Grace, the specific details about Honey's birthplace or parents weren't provided in the reports. However, it's worth noting that pygmy hippos in captivity tend to live longer than those in the wild, with a lifespan of 42 to 55 years in zoos. This extended lifespan contributes to the overall survival of the species.
It's quite a long life. Ethan, can you tell us who reported on this story?
Certainly. This news was part of a regular animal news feature that includes a quiz component, authored by Holly J. Morris. She works on NPR's training team and has a background in editing at publications like the Washington Post-Express, National Geographic, and U.S. News and World Report.
Thank you, Ethan, for bringing us this heartwarming story about Honey the pygmy hippo. It's wonderful to hear about conservation efforts making a difference.
You're welcome, Grace. It's always a pleasure to share positive news about endangered species.
And that concludes our third and final story for today. Thanks again, Ethan. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.